Digital detox. I think this is something of a buzzword lately, and probably even more so in 2025, or at least that's my impression or my interest. I've seen a lot of videos that have been talking about things for this year for digitally detoxing, spending less. Like, we're all getting ready for 2025 and onward. So this channel obviously is a bookish channel. This isn't like the typical kind of commentary topic that I would do, but I think as a content creator, as a source of the digital noise, I thought it was somewhat relevant. Pardon the departure from my usual regularly scheduled programming. If you don't care about this topic, well then presumably you didn't click on it. But if you did click on it and you don't care about this topic, well, I mean, you know, do you, I guess. To digitally detox, that could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So in this video, I just kind of wanted to talk about how I kind of stumbled into accidentally digitally detoxing, the benefits that I discovered in so doing, and some tips and tricks that have worked for me. What works for me may not work for you, either because you're a different personality type, your life circumstances are different, but I figured it might help someone, and so if it might help you, well then great, and if it doesn't help you, sorry, can't help everyone. To digitally detox. What does that mean? What does it mean to you? If you clicked on this video, presumably it's because digital detox means something to you. It's something you're interested in. To me, digitally detoxing is just as meaningful and meaningless as any other kind of a health-conscious detox. There's a lot of misinformation about health-related detoxes, but to me it more or less is like a buzzy way of saying we're not going to be on social media and on the internet and technologically plugged in as much. It's to take a step back from that. Now, a detox could be, you know, let's go be Amish, or a detox could be 1 hour a day that you're not on your phone. You know, like, your mileage may vary, what that means to you could vary. But generally the point of it is to be on your phone less, be on the computer less, be on the iPad less, be on the TV less, to step away from the digital world. Why might you want to digitally detox? You clicked on this video because something about digitally detoxing appeals to you. The reason for that will differ depending on, again, what it is that you find to be the most toxic to you. A few examples of reasons why people might be looking to digitally detox would be to curb bad spending habits, to help with attention span and focusing, to carve out more time in their day for other things, because if the time that you spent on your phone is now not on your phone, that frees up that time to do something else, to help with your mental health just generally. Again, reasons are as many as there are people. And maybe you are interested in it for all of those reasons. So for me personally, I kind of, again, accidentally digitally detoxed because being on social media so much for me personally was really, really ramping up my compulsive spending. And I noticed this happening, and I reached a point where I was like, okay, I need to do something. This needs to stop. So I wasn't really seeking out a digital detox. I think a digital detox is kind of not the thing you seek out. I think it's the thing you seek out because of a different problem you're trying to solve. Again, not necessarily everyone, that's true. But for me, that was the case. I wasn't looking to digitally detox. I was looking to not be confronted with opportunities to spend money as much. And not just because there's so many advertisements online, but because there are also constantly the creators that you follow are advertising to you as well. And then even if the creator is not advertising to you and it is not an advertisement, there's still this discourse and discussion and kind of general discourse about enabling spending. Very sort of, oh, treat yourself, or I've decided to live beyond my means, and someone's eating a croissant in Paris. And it's just this very kind of this content that comforts you if you do feel a little bit bad about spending too much money. Then there's all these reels that are like, yeah, me too, girl, whatever, you know, let's spend our money. So in addition to causing you to spend it, it then also kind of helps you to forgive yourself for spending it, so then you'll spend again, and it's a vicious cycle. So that's why I was like, this is real bad. This is just a big problem. So I need to do something about that. It also led to me actually this year doing a no-buy year, which is not what this video is about. If you want a video about that, I can do one, but this video is already kind of outside of the scope of what my channel is normally about. So I'm really not going to do a video about that unless people actually want that. But there's tons of videos out there that are about what that is. So if you're interested, you can seek that out. Again, if you really want to hear me talk about it, happy to do it, but only if people actually want that. So again, that's my entry into this, why I was digitally detoxing. Because I was like, this needs to stop. The latter portion of this video will be sort of more specific advice, tips, and tricks, that kind of thing. But some of the benefits that I noticed pretty much immediately, and then increasingly so, that was not something that I was seeking out, was that I did feel better. I did feel calmer. I did sleep better. I felt like my attention span was better. I felt like my ability to focus on things was better. I felt like my propensity to spiral and worry and anxiously dread things was significantly decreased. There was just this sort of plethora of benefits that I noticed when I just decreased the amount of time that I was spending on my phone, on the apps that I was most prone to be on. And the more I did it, so that was sort of immediately, not obviously day one, but fairly quickly after pretty drastically changing my social media habits or putting mechanisms in place to curb that, I did pretty immediately notice obviously a decrease in spending, because you're just simply not able to do it. You don't have access to the thing that was making you do it. But I felt greater clarity. I felt more in control of myself. I felt less anxious. I felt it's sort of indefinably more at peace. And then all of those things caused me to then be able to get to sleep better and to have more restful sleep. Again, not so much as of a direct result, because I didn't tend to be on my phone in bed. I very rarely did that anyway. So it wasn't that like the blue light was keeping me awake or anything like that. But this sort of general anxiety caused by social media would then make me anxious when I was going to sleep. And then that's when your brain is starting to go through all these thoughts that are churning and spiraling, and then it's harder to go to sleep. So because I was just generally more at peace, then I could go to sleep more peacefully. And then of course I did have more time for other things because the amount of time that I was spending on social media could now be directed elsewhere. So again, your reasons for doing this are going to be possibly the same as mine, possibly different from mine. Again, some people are going to be spending money like me, and that's what they need to stop. Some people are going to find that they're doom scrolling the news and are constantly being updated on the never-ending vicious news cycle, and it's making them stressed. People are going to be on games and on gambling apps, which is insane to me that you can have sports betting and gambling apps, what people do. So that's in many ways more pernicious than spending a lot of money, because at least if you're compulsively spending, you get a thing. But if you're compulsively gambling on your phone, you're just losing money. But anyway, so there's a variety of reasons why you might want to be doing this, and a variety of benefits. So like I can't speak to the benefits of cutting off consumption of news, because that wasn't one of my like big sources of anxiety, or that I needed to put a stop to, because I try to keep up to date on the news. I know how upsetting it is and anxiety-inducing it is and how little I can do about it. So I've, for most of my life, been sort of a save your strength for things that you can change kind of person. So I want to know what's happening because it is beneficial to know, but I don't need to know that much, and I don't need to know it constantly because I can't do anything about it. So anyway, so that's not one of the problems that I have. But if that was a problem for you, then again, the same sort of decrease in stress, higher attention span, lower anxiety, these are types of benefits that you could potentially see from decreasing your consumption of news, of Twitter, of online discourse about the news, this sort of thing. And again, if you're gambling, then hopefully you're going to see an increase in you not losing money. Okay, so that's all well and good. These are all the great things that happened when I digitally detoxed. How did I digitally detox? Again, broadly, you need to identify your own triggers. You need to identify your own sources of stress, your own sources of time sucked, money sucked, whatever it is. So for me, I knew. I didn't have to think about it. I knew which apps on my phone were the ones that were the worst for me, that every time I opened it, it was bad news, and I was opening them a ton. So an Apple iPhone, and I'm sure Androids have similar features, they have built-in mechanisms for you to limit screen time or limit app usage and this sort of thing. And I did try that at first. I found that the mechanisms that are built into the phone already are not nearly robust or aggressive enough to actually meaningfully change your habits. It might work for some people, and if they work for you, that's great. But if you've tried that and you're like, no, I've tried limiting my screen time, I've tried limiting my app time, and it didn't do anything. If you did it via the built-in phone mechanisms, the built-in phone features, then yeah, I mean, same. Because it's very easy to override those. It's very easy to be like, ignore for today, and kind of be like, oh yeah, it's supposedly trying to keep me from doing this, but whatever, I'm just gonna click anyway. So I went on a hunt to find something more aggressive, because I knew there were such things. So I found an app that I'm sure many of you probably have heard of. It's a pretty well-known app now at this point, I think. It's called SCREENZEN, and it basically does the same thing that your iPhone built-in features would do. It just does it much more aggressively. The way it kind of like grabs you by the throat and yanks you out of whatever app you're in because you've reached your limit is just so much more intense. And it also keeps track of your streak. So for anyone that finds it motivational to have a sort of game-like element to something, so the fact that you can look and say, oh, okay, so I have a 10-day streak of, you know, not using this app more than the limit that I set. I have a 50-day streak. I have a 100-day streak. And if the having of that streak is something that's going to make you feel motivated to continue that streak going, that's nice. You can customize it much more than, I mean, you can customize the built-in phone features, but I find it's easier to customize SCREENZEN. This is not an ad, by the way. I mean, I just really love SCREENZEN, and I would recommend it if you had the same problems that I did. So you can set different limits for different apps. You can set limits both in terms of how many times you can check it that day, as well as how many minutes that you're allowed to be on it at any given time. And you can set your own personal message for what the app is going to tell you when you try to open the app. So I found, I think with the built-in phone feature, was that you didn't really get any barrier to opening the app until you had reached the limit. And then once you had reached the limit, it wasn't much of a barrier. With SCREENZEN, if this is one of the apps that you've limited, when you open the app, even if you haven't opened it at all that day, it already confronts you with the barrier and is like, look, you only got 3 today. 3 times you can open this app today. Do you want to use one of those right now? And you have to be like, yes, I am actively choosing to use one of my 3 times that I get to open this right now. So that already is like creating a more thoughtful engagement with the app, because you're like, okay, I've decided that my ration for today, I'm starting to use some of it now. Again, you can set the message, what the app is going to tell you, like what you want it to tell you. I think for some of the apps, I set the message to don't do it from future Leanna. But anyway, you can do whatever is meaningful to you. Again, if you're doing this because you want to save money, if you're doing this because you're saving towards a particular goal, if you're doing this because whatever your reason is, it might be helpful to put that in the app so that if you know, you're trying not to do so much gambling and spending because you want to save for a trip to Paris, then you can put in the message, you know, Paris, remember Paris, we're trying to save for that. Like, you know, just before you go in this app, just remember that, to like remind yourself of why you're doing whatever digital detoxing you're doing. If it's because you want to spend more time with your kids, then put a message about, hey, remember the children, you know, whatever it is for you, it's meaningful to you, the reason that you're doing this. The reason that you're doing, put that in the app so that you're reminding yourself and keeping yourself accountable. And then I would also say you're going to find that if you haven't found this already, necessity is the mother of invention. That if, let's say there is an app that you've decided you need to mega limit because this is a big problem for you, so you put a really strict limit on it. But the thing is, okay, you've limited the app, but you know, you have a browser app and you could just go to the website. And the website isn't quite as smooth a user experience as the app is, but you can still go to the website. And yeah, so let's just go to the website instead. And see, I haven't broken my streak. I didn't open the app, but I could still go and see the things that I wanted to see. And you haven't actually stopped yourself at all. So you have to be honest with yourself and limit everything that is going to be connected to the thing you're trying to limit. So again, like for me, Instagram, big problem. So I put a really, really intense limit on Instagram. And then again, I could just check Instagram on the browser. So I also put a limit on the browser. Now the browser I need for other things. It's also a practical tool that I need to look up information or to, you know, do life things that are necessary. So I put a less strict limit on the browser, but I did also limit the browser. So if I use up my browser time on just checking Instagram, now I can't use the browser for normal things. So you just have to be really honest with yourself and what it is that you're going to need to limit in order to actually realistically change your habits. Now, this is step 1, is to put blocks in place. You don't have to use SCREENZEN, I just highly recommend it, but you can use the built-in phone features. There are other apps that do something similar to SCREENZEN. Find what works for you. Find the one that the user interface is the most useful to you. And I haven't explored this, but I'm certain there are similar apps that you can install on your computer or on your iPad if you're finding you're doing things on there. I don't really. I use mainly the phone, so I don't really know any apps for those. I don't have any recommendations for you, but I'm certain they exist. But so step one was, again, setting these limits, these really strict limits on my phone. And at first it was super, super hard. And then it really wasn't that hard after a while. After a while, I would look at my ration of Instagram opens and be like, I don't even know if I want to open it that many times a day. I went from spending hours and hours opening it 50 times a day to now, I think I have it, because I did change it. I think I originally had it set for 7 times and now I have it set to 4 times that I can open it. 4 times, 7 minutes each. And many a day I use it twice, maybe, because it was no longer a habit. It wasn't a thing where I mindlessly pick up my phone and open the app because that's just what I do without thinking about it. I have to actively kind of decide to go and check, though this is another tip, sorry. Wasn't on my list of tips, but I removed Instagram from my home screen. It's still on my phone, obviously, because I wouldn't be able to open the app if it wasn't at all, but it's not on my home screen. So I have to go and find the app. And then it's obviously limited. So as soon as I try to open it, SCREENZEN is like, you sure? You've only got 4. At which point I'm like, yeah, I'll use one now. And then I only get to use it for the 7 minutes. And then as soon as I'm done, a big screen comes down. It's like, whoop, you're done. We are yanking you out of there. And you could use another one immediately, but it's gonna be another, it does a little timer so it doesn't open immediately. So you say, yes, you do want to use it. And then it kind of does a little timer and then finally opens it again. So to actually open it again isn't easy. I mean, it's not difficult, but it's not smooth. You kind of have to actively choose to do this. So again, that's why I find it very helpful. But yeah, it isn't a habit for me anymore. And it got to the point where I found it stressful, the idea of opening it, because at this point, I'm no longer opening it because I want to. I'm opening it because I need to, because there are group chats to plan things for my channel, or because I know there's people that don't have my telephone number, so the only way that they contact me is through DMing me on Instagram. And so I have to check periodically to see if they've said something or if they've replied to me. But I don't really check it for any like recreation anymore, or hardly. I didn't think that was really possible. And now, having limited it for so long, now I'm just like, man, like, why was I so addicted to it? Like, I don't even really want to check it anymore. So again, step 1 was limiting it and then building up this kind of lack of interest in it, building up new habits. You're gonna have the habit of checking it and you're gonna check yourself and be like, oh, no, I'm not doing that. Oh, no, I'm not doing that. Oh, no, I'm not doing that. And it takes a while to break a habit, but functionally that's what you're doing. You're rewiring your habits. But so moving on from there, now that you've kind of broken a habit, I have enjoyed phone-free days. Now again, this won't work for everybody, because depending on your life circumstances, depending on your work, if you have children, etc., you may not be able to have a phone-free day. But if you can, I highly recommend it. And by a phone-free day, I mean pretty much that. Like, obviously my phone I have it if I absolutely need it for something, but I don't check it, I don't turn it on. Sometimes I even put it on airplane mode. And I just wake up, and from sundown up to sundown, I might check it first thing to make sure there's no emergencies, and then right before I go to sleep to make sure there's no emergencies. You know, like if someone has texted me or called me with something important, but I won't open any apps. I'll just check the phone to see if something has come in that looks really urgent, and if not, then I just don't look at it. I don't think I would have said that I could do that before, but now I really look forward to it, and sometimes I've gone like more than one day. If it's like a holiday and I have more than one day off, I'll use my phone as little as possible. And then from there, I've even extended it into having basically tech-free days where I don't watch television, I don't get on my computer, I don't use my phone, I just don't do any of that for a whole day. I might turn on the TV to put an ambiance on, but I will strictly not watch a video. I will not watch a film. I will not watch a television show. I will put on, a fireplace ambiance, and I'll read a book, and I'll make food, and I'll wash dishes, and I'll play with my cat. And that is it's so wonderful. The first time I did this, it was kind of by accident. I came home from a camping trip, and when I was camping, I sort of had to digitally detox because there's no service. And when I got back from the camping trip, the idea of now immediately plugging back in, I was like, no, it kind of feels really nice that I've kind of cleared it out. And I want to still have this peace. I don't want to just to get right back into the noise of the digital world again. So I just kind of was like, well, I'm just not going to check my phone. Like, for now that I'm back and I have access to technology, I'm just not gonna look at my phone. And because I was so constantly on my phone, people thought I was like dead. They're like, where are you? Why aren't you responding? Are you dead? Now because I have so decreased how much I am like online, how much I check apps, how much I'm digitally plugged in, now that doesn't happen anymore. Now people don't think I'm dead because I haven't checked Instagram for a day. But that was kind of a sign to me too, how bad this was. The fact that I went a day without checking Instagram and people were like, are you dead? And I was like, no, I'm not dead. I just decided not to check my phone for a day. Oh my God, this is really bad. That happened before I even started limiting the apps. After that, I was like, yeah, this is bad. I need to put a stop to this. But so then after that, I have, again, tried to do phone-free days, maybe not weekly, but as often as I can, and I really, really recommend it. And then throughout my week, throughout the day, they can't be completely phone-free, they can't be digital-free, because I work on a computer, my work is on my phone, I do have to talk to people, I make videos on the internet, but when I'm driving, I don't necessarily put on any music or a podcast or an audiobook or the radio, I just drive in silence. If I'm washing dishes, I just wash them in silence. If I'm cleaning the house, I just do it in silence. And getting reacquainted with silence, learning to love silence, learning to be alone with your own thoughts and not needing to be distracted or stimulated is hard. You're so used to constantly putting on the headphones and listening to something, getting in the car, turning something on. And at first it's like, oh my God, it is silent. And what do I do? What do I do with silence? Like, but you learn to love it. And now when I'll get in the car, I'll kind of turn on the radio and be like, oh no, it's so noisy. Oh no, I'm just gonna enjoy the silence. I mean, silence, I live in LA, so it's still traffic noise, but. And again, I didn't do all of these things on day one. If you watching this video are really plugged in and constantly listening to stuff constantly on your phone, I would not recommend on day one, just like silence, nothing, no apps, no contacts, like, you'll be like, this is miserable. Why would I do this? Never do it again. You're going to have withdrawals. But I feel like the more you limit it, the more you find that you don't even want it. And then you kind of end up limiting it yourself without limiting it. Like, you're not purposely stopping yourself from doing it. You just don't want to do it anymore. Like, I'm not sitting in the car going, oh, I really shouldn't listen to a podcast because I'm detoxing. I'm like, I don't want to listen to anything. I like the silence. And it's just so nice to just be with your own thoughts, not being screamed at by whatever it is you were listening to, being stressed by it, being interested in it as well. And again, there's nothing wrong with things. I do still listen to podcasts. I do still listen to audiobooks. I'm not saying I never do those things, but this dependence on them, on constantly being stimulated, is bad, because it's really good to be alone with your thoughts and to just think. And the more you do it, I find the more at peace you are. So in conclusion, my life circumstances, my triggers are going to be different from yours probably. Maybe they're the exact same, in which case, off you go, I've given you your plan. I knew what was a problem for me, and I took steps to limit it, and then just sort of kept going because it felt good. It's sort of like with building up a fitness regimen, you shouldn't start by trying to run a marathon on day one. You know, you start by sort of trying to get active, and then the more you do it, the better it feels. And you're like, maybe I'll do a little bit more, not because I'm making myself, but because I kind of want to. And then you're now working out every single day, not because you're like, oh, I have a regimen and I have to do this. It's like, no, I want to. I feel gross if I don't do it. I want to be out there being physical. That feels good. So that's digitally detoxing for me, was that at first it was like, you can't do it. You really need to try to not to do it. And then after a while, it's like, I don't even want to do it. I don't want to be on my phone unless I have to be. And it's just a really good feeling. One, to just feel calmer, and two, to not feel like the phone is in control of me, to not feel like I am at its mercy, because that's how often I felt. And now I feel like, no, I'm in control. And if I am on Instagram, and if I am being shown advertisements, if I am being shown I'm being influenced to purchase something, or to go down a rabbit hole, I just kind of look at it and go, yeah, I mean, I kind of want that, but I don't know. I can live without it. Will it change my life? No. Yeah, I'll think about it. Maybe if I still want it in a month. And then I inevitably don't. And we're good. And I don't feel like, oh God, if I open Instagram, I'm going to see something and I will not be able to control my impulse to just buy it. But I'm going to open Instagram and I am going to buy it. And we know that's going to happen and I have no control over it. That's how it felt before. Now I don't feel like that anymore. Now I feel like I decide. And it's really empowering to feel that. And it just is another layer of improved mental health, because I'm not being stressed and I'm not stressed by the things that I'm seeing, and I'm also not stressed by my relationship to technology. So I find my attention span for physically reading books is greater. I find my ability to just exist in a space without being distracted. I feel quite content. I'm able to go to sleep. I just feel so much better. And I'm like, why was I on the phone for so long every single day? What was I getting out of that? Why was I doing that? I mean, because it's an addiction. It's a digital addiction. We all have them. Now, I never used TikTok really, so that's not one for me. I bet it is for a lot of people, so that's probably one you want to limit, although I guess it's banned now, or is it? I don't really know because I don't have TikTok. You need to be honest with yourself about what it is that's digitally toxic for you, and either limit it, or decrease it, or get rid of it, because you'll be better off for it. And if you disagree with everything that I said, you know, that is your right. You live your life and I'll live mine. Let me know in the comments down below if this was helpful to you at all, if you yourself have been implementing any of these steps. If you have tips and tricks that I didn't talk about, definitely share those, because again, what I do isn't necessarily going to work for everybody, but if you do something different that works equally well for you, please share. Maybe I'll adopt that as well, but whatever, let me know. And I'll see you for my next bookish video. Unless I do the no buy one, but probably a bookish one.